Welcome back to Real Talk Fitness with AMPT. I'm your host, Ashley Cummins. For those of you that are just jumping on and listening, I'm the owner and founder of AMPT, a local gym and a community. So we're not just a gym. And I'm also a busy mum of two young boys, and I do like to compete in quite a variety of different sports myself. So in today's episode, I have Zac Anderson from Respect the Bodies on today, and I'm really excited to share this journey from what you see on social media. If you haven't yet, make sure you jump on and follow Respect the Body, but that your actions actually speak louder than your words. We hear that all the time, but yet if you keep listening to today's episode with Zac Anderson, it should really hit home in what we mean by that. So we're diving into what Respect the Body actually is, where it came from, the story behind building something meaningful from the ground up. So this one is for anyone who feels stuck, anyone who feels like their past defines them, or anyone who knows that they're capable of more. So let's dive in. All right, so welcome onto the podcast, Zac.
Thank you for having me.
No, that's okay. I'm really excited, as we just briefly spoke about prior to hitting that record button. I'm really excited to share this story to all of the listeners, just in regards to, like, I guess, not putting yourself into a box, and that, you know, anything can happen and you can sort of achieve big things.
Yeah, that's right. If you have a go at something, I mean, you know, the world's your oyster, as they say.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So I guess for anybody listening, Zac, or Ando, that a lot of people call him, is behind the scenes of Respect the Body. So just go through a bit for me, Zac, like, what is Respect the Body?
So not a lot of people know this, but like as kids, we got around Raymond Terrace in, I guess you could, not a little gang, but just a group of mates that come from the same demographic. And even the older boys used to call themselves the RTB boys, Raymond Terrace boys. And I guess we just grew into that, being what some people would call delinquents or thugs, which, you know, it is what it is. But I actually wanted to start something online, some type of fitness, something to do with, you know, helping people or motivate people to change their life through fitness. And one of the boys was like, "Oh, why don't you call it RTV?" And I initially just laughed at him. I said, "Fuck!" I said, "No way, I'm not calling it that." And
Yeah.
he goes, "What do you mean? It's Respect the Body." I thought, well, you know, that's got a ring to it. And then it sort of just grew into turning the RTB boys into a positive message from Raymond Terrace, which was Respect the Body. And we were the same boys that had a bad name that was starting this positive thing and turned it into what it is today. So that's sort of how it came about.
Which is like, again, which is a whole nother reason why I reached out to you, because I was like, you know, and again, I guess I had a very similar like upbringing, and it's kind of like, you know, you're put into this position where it's like, you know, you're gonna go nowhere, do nothing, follow all of those things, and it's like you don't have to do that.
Yeah, I think, you're right, because I guess what I call it is a lot of people say, well, they just assume you're going to be a statistic.
Yep.
But I think the ones that were doing their own sort of thing and I guess being a bit disobedient, they won't fall into that statistic because they're self-thinking, you know what I mean? You're thinking for yourself, you're out of the household, what's going to shape you into the person of the statistic. But if you're not there and you're doing your own thing, I think that's what molds someone to be, you know, a successful individual, just going through trials and tribulations.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, if you were to try and explain Respect to the Body now in one sort of sentence, what would you say that it sort of represents?
It represents change to me. So what I say is respect the body, respect the mind, the rest will follow. So
That's really powerful.
yeah, because if as I say as well, if you're doing something positive every day, and let's be honest, being health and like being healthy and focusing on fitness and stuff like that, it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. So if you do it every day, it's kind of hard to go backwards if you're so occupied by so many positive things, which is eating clean, training good, hanging out with like-minded people, waking up early, going to bed early. Like it sort of eliminates all them windows for you getting in trouble, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. And that kind of leads me into like the respect the body isn't just about fitness. It's more, would you say, like a mindset that you've created in terms of going something that was looked at negative and gone, you know what, we're not going to be that. We're going to turn it into something positive. And did it start
Mm.
out just as a mindset or just as a fitness thing?
It started out originally, so I started like an online marketing course 12 months ago, learning sales and marketing. And then I got over that. I was like, I want to do something online through health and fitness where it was to hold people accountable. So the brand's about accountability, essentially, because if you wear a respect the body shirt or something, then now it's time to hold yourself accountable. If you hold
Yeah.
yourself accountable, well, then you've got no one to blame because at the end of the day, as they say, no one's coming to save you. You got to save yourself. And that's what it's about. You know, it's the shirt's a symbol, but the message is to save yourself.
Oh my god, I just got goosebumps because that's so funny, and I'm so glad I reached out because the values that has started this is exactly what I say to everybody: is that we go to bed with ourselves and we wake up with ourselves.
That's it.
Um, and I love that no one is coming to save you. That's so yeah, so powerful. So I guess like, do you think that most people think that they sort of, you know, when they follow this, that you've helped them, I guess, in the sense, make that positive change? Like the movement, as I've seen and watched and followed, is quite massive in terms of the people that you get turning up to the events and things like that.
Mm.
Have you seen and heard of people reaching out that have actually made positive changes?
Yeah, so like a lot of, I suppose we should share it more, but a lot of people message us and like, I mean, paragraphs, um, massive paragraphs, multiple people. Some people, you know, they've been in addiction, they haven't seen their kids, they've wanted to, you know, commit suicide, all these sorts of things. And they message and like, hey, bro, like I'm 3 days clean. You've inspired me to want to be a better father, get my kids back, and start going to the gym. I got one of your shirts because you know, I want to start training in your shirt. And it's like, fuck, like I'm not built for these type of messages. I didn't know this is what we're doing. 4 people or 2 people. And even Dusto has gone like, here, bro, this one's for you. Like, you got to reply to this because I'm just I talk a bit better, more fluently just from being online and stuff. And I'll just send a voice note and, you know, say like, I appreciate it. All the rest of it, you know, just that,
Yeah,
you know, confirming or that affirmation that they are doing the right thing. And then
yeah,
just other people have messaged as well, like um, this guy broke up with his wife and he was going through it, and then he's just started training and doing push-ups, and he's never felt better. And he's people send you the selfies of their flexing poses and stuff like that, you know. And it's like for them to open up and send you these, you know, vulnerable, you know, messages. You're obviously hitting some emotion that resonates with them along the line. But on the same token, our content doesn't reflect much vulnerability. We're kind of just painted as these show ponies with abs. You know what I mean? Like, oh, put
yeah.
your shirt on, you wankers. But it's like people are we are relaying the message the right way to the certain demographic. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, 100%. And you can definitely see that. And I guess, you know, like you did say, when we sort of spoke about like what is respect the body and how it sort of came about. So I guess, you know, this demographic, these people, and it's everywhere, you know, and I guess
Mm.
as the cost of living rises and the pressures and everything else and the amount of suicide you see now too, like I feel like this demographic is becoming larger and larger of people falling into, like, as you stated before, like, you know, falling into that, oh, I'm just going to become one of the statistics. When did
Yeah.
you, like, obviously, this came about when you guys wanted to make a positive sort of change. So I guess, did you have like a clear vision from the start that, you know, after you made a positive change, that this is where it was going to end up?
Nah, it was very blasé the whole decision. So it's actually crazy. We were actually in Newcastle courthouse, and one of my mate's brothers was basically handing himself in because he breached his parole, and he was like, "I'm going to jail today, boys. Come to court with me." And we were sitting in the courtroom waiting room when this idea actually came about, and it was just so ironic that one of the boys were going to jail when we thought about making it, and then he didn't go to jail. He started respecting the body. He's away working now. He's pretty healthy, so it's just weird, like full circle moment of how it came about. And then originally it was going to be like training plans and meal plans, and I
Yeah.
was like, it's just too. Because everyone's doing that. No one cares about a meal plan or a training plan. I was like, we need to be pushing a message about mental health and about just change in itself about where we've come from, because people are interesting, not meal plans. So
Yeah.
if people could see visually where we came from and where we are now, then I think that's a bigger message than trying to give someone a meal plan to follow and not making a relationship with them, if that makes sense. As they
Yeah.
say, actions speak louder than words. So,
Yeah, no, like 100%, and I think these are things that people need to hear, right? Like as I said, like
hmm,
watching the Respect the Body, like you wouldn't imagine, and that's why obviously I asked you to come onto the podcast, because just this podcast, even if 10 people listen to it, it could change 10 people's lives in stating that they
that's right.
can do something. Like, even just those small things that you said before, no one's coming to save you, actions speak louder than words. Like we read that, but listening to it from someone that, again, I guess and I speak for myself here, and just, a little bit with what you shared me is that like we could have both been down that same direction.
Yeah,
And yeah, just,
easily, very easy.
yeah. And so I guess, it kind of brings me to the turning point in your life and all of that sort of stuff. Like obviously this came up in the courtroom, but when did things start to change for you? Like when did you just kind of go, this isn't what I want for me?
Basically, I think I was 19. I was 19 years old. I was looking at 6 years jail. I was going through court and stuff like that. And I basically just jumped through all the hoops for the courts and then the coppers and all that. And then once I didn't go to jail, I actually got I think it was a 2.5 year community service order, or it was ICO, intensive corrections order. I finished. I was halfway through it actually, and I wanted to. My partner asked me, "What do you want to do in life?" And I said, "Oh, I want to travel to Europe. I want to have kids and get my own house." And it was just like a pipe dream type vision, but that's what I really wanted. And then she goes, "All right, well, this is what we need to do." So I started pretending to be good for parole. Like I was just like just jumping through the hoops,
Yeah.
pissing in their pocket. And then after 2 years of doing it, I finished, started working, saved money, traveled to Europe, finished that, come back, got a house, had kids. But I was like, I just got sick of my own shit, basically.
Yeah.
I was just dead set sick of, like, I'd blame the coppers for locking me up, or I'd blame parole for breaching me, or I'd just, someone else was to blame for my fuck ups every time. And then I was like, you know what? If I just don't do this, then they can't get me. Or if I don't do that, they can't do that to me. And now it's been like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years since I've had any dramas with any law authority. And yeah, I realized I just got sick of my shit, and it comes back to no one's coming to save you, and you've got to do all the hard yards yourself. And now I have my own house that I've bought. I have 3 beautiful kids. Like I have a trade. So it's just about, being a fuck up is harder than being successful.
Yeah, wow. Like I feel like this is just opened a whole nother can of worms to help everybody that's listening, because that in itself, that mental battle
Mm.
and that victim mentality, like you've been there. Like you just said that you were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. That's the
Like it
worst place you can sit is play the victim in your own bullshit.
Yeah, at what point? Because at one point, obviously, to play a victim, and I feel like, I know we're kind of going off tangent here, but I feel like this could really help so many people and in different ways, right? Like, so even in,
Yeah.
obviously with what I do for work, owning a PT business, I see a lot of people with the victim mentality in different ways. Like, it's never them, it's the meal plan, or it's the training plan, or, or like, or that trainer's just not for me, or whatever it might be. But it's that
Yeah.
not taking accountability.
That's right.
Like, obviously at one point you believed that, right? You believed that it was everybody else.
Yeah, well, I think most people believe their own reality. Like that's the problem, is like they believe it, and I was like, you can change reality with action. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's insane. And obviously it's been 11 years since then, and what you called a pipeline dream, you've lived it. You've done it.
Yeah, it's like I say to people, like I've reached my goals. I'm in my bonus years now.
Yeah, did you, when you set those pipeline dreams all that time ago, were you in that victim mindset still?
Yeah. I didn't want to work. I believed the government was just going to take me tax money. I
Yeah.
believed like everything was just like a trap, and I just thought, well, this is my life. Like my parents didn't do anything. They weren't successful. There was no inheritance when my mum passed away. Like I was like, this is just my life now. And then I think I got a job, and I was getting like I was $900 a week, and I was like, oh, what? Like, when you have a job and make money, you can do things. And then I just
Yeah.
kept working and working, and then saved and worked and saved and worked, and took sandwiches to work and drank bottles of water, and didn't live like I was rich when I was broke. I'm not rich now by any means, but I'm
Yeah.
not rich materialistically, but with other things like my family and my house, like this is their house now. This is not my house.
Yeah.
So it's just things like that.
Yeah, see, I feel like that if anyone can take anything away from today's episode, I feel like that what you've shared is so powerful. Like, and also remembering that, looking at where you are now, that it wasn't 12 months, it wasn't 18 months, it's 11
Mm,
years. And,
yeah.
obviously you've outgrown that old person because, as you said before, and I love this, you stopped believing your own bullshit.
Yeah, well, it's funny when you say the old me, like the old me. If I sat here right now and spoke to me 10 years ago, I'd be like, "Shut your mouth, get away from me. You're talking shit." Like who's this
Yeah.
guy? But it's crazy because I am that guy.
Yeah, and I feel like, as I said, like if anyone can take anything away from today's podcast, that once we finally go live with it, is that, yes, it takes time, but it starts, as you said before, it starts with you, like just having enough of believing your own shit. Like anything,
That's
as you
right.
said before, is possible. Like, as I said, look at the positive impact, if we go back earlier into our conversation, that you're having on other people's lives, because you've gone out and shown them that it's possible, but you also haven't, sugarcoated it.
No, that's it.
It's
Like
real.
people say, like, oh, let's just say, for an example, oh, someone's 100 kilos, they want to get to 80, and you say like it's going to take 12 months, and they roll their eyes like 12 months. Like you're gonna be here for 12 months, regardless of what you're gonna do in between it. So why not just do something good? So
Yep.
with my life, like, oh, it might have taken 10 years, but was I gonna be here for the last 10 years fucking up, or 10 years moving forward? So you're gonna be here regardless. So just get to work.
Yeah, no, again, that is definitely going to be something I'm putting in our notes, because I say that anyway. It's like the time passes regardless of what you
Yeah,
do.
that's right.
Like the clock keeps ticking.
Non-stop.
So I guess this whole, like, it makes so much more sense, and it probably makes sense to the listeners too on today's podcast, is that, how the Respect the Body, came about, and why it has blown up. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
as you said, having that conversation, not did you think that you would, be in this position now,
Mm.
um, or impacting so many people, and their lives for positive changes. What were the hardest parts of all of this that nobody sees?
Probably dealing with the hate, like as you're coming up, as you're growing, like all the negative stuff, and just pushing through it, knowing where you're going and what you're doing. But the hard, well, and consistency as well. Like consistency is one of the hardest things to do with monotonous tasks, which is like you said earlier, meal plans and stuff like that. But I think if you can keep the vision and just remember what your goal is, I think that's probably the hardest part to remind yourself, especially when you go and you have them down days, you're doubting
Yeah.
yourself, and you're not sure, maybe these people are right. Maybe I am just a statistic. But like the hardest part is reminding yourself who you are and where you want to be.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's a
yeah,
mental thing. It's not a physical thing. You can't see it. It's not like a tangible object. It's just like your thoughts. And thoughts can be dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I always believe on that tangent too, like we have auto selection. So like we can choose what we feed into our subconscious mind. Like we
That's
actually
right.
have that choice.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think a lot of
powerful.
people, again, and I feel like it circles back to what we just spoke about before, like that victim mentality.
Yeah, that's right. And I
Um,
suppose when you come from well, where you could say we came from,
yeah.
you have self-imposter syndrome pretty bad. So when you achieve things and you get congratulated, you're just like, oh, cheers, man. Like, I didn't do much to do that. But really, you've done something every day. You're working hard for it. And you just don't really appreciate yourself as much as others do. So it's just a funny thing.
Yeah, no, I 100% can relate to that. Like, in terms of where I am, and people are like, "Oh, wow, you should be really proud." And it's like, what do you mean? I haven't done anything. And that, yeah, so it's just that, and again, these are the things that people don't see. We see respect the body, we see all the positive stuff that you're doing. Nobody
Yeah.
sees these demons, like I like to call them demons, but you
Yeah. I live
fight
with
pretty
my
much on the
demons.
daily.
Yeah. That's what I
That,
say to people. They're like, go get some, like, you need to talk to someone. I'm like, I'm happy where my demons sit. They live with me in a comfy little corner of my head and they can stay there.
yeah, exactly. Like, and they are always going to be, I guess, part of who you are and where you've come from. Like they just now know their place and it's not in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
forefront of your mind.
Yeah. They're your character builders. So you got to keep them there.
Yeah, 100%. And what would you say to someone? I feel like this is kind of getting to that advice part, right? And I feel like again, a lot of people will probably benefit from this. What would you say to someone who feels like that they're too far gone, or the road that they're looking to move forward? Like as you said when you spoke about the pipeline dreams, like you've lived that now. But the people that are stating these things and they state them and they're like, oh, that will never happen, or they feel stuck to change. What advice would you give to them being there and on the other side of it now?
Um, what advice would I give to them to get where I am or when they're
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, like, as I said, the biggest bit of advice would be, well, number one, know where you kind of want to go, or like get sick of your shit to begin with. I think a lot of people just become they find peace with who they are in whatever aspect it may be, and they just accept it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really a mentality thing. So if in your head you've always envisioned, a place that you want to be, but you're not there, I think that's all you really need is just to still have that vision. And if you don't have that vision, write down what you want, like physically get a pen and paper and write it out. Once you write it out, you've manifested it into a physical world. It's out of your brain. And now you've got something to work towards because you've actually written it down. I know it sounds cliche and a bit woohoo and probably gay in some terms, but yeah, I remember writing down what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be in life, just in general. And then it's in existence now. So it's not just a
Yeah.
thought. So my biggest bit of advice would be like find out where you want to go and just wake up every day and do one little thing that helps you get there. You don't I think a lot of people bite off more than they can chew. They get overwhelmed too fast and they go, no, fuck it, I don't want to do it.
100%. Oh,
So
fucking
yeah.
yes. Yes.
Just one little thing at a time, whether it might even just be like with meal plans, instead of changing your whole meal plan in 1 week and then filling your fridge with all these foreign foods, just change your snack from a packet of chips to a banana. Like
Yeah.
it's just one little thing at a time, and they're compounding efforts.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because I did have a lady on the podcast and we spoke about very similar things in, obviously her success in powerlifting, and she referred to that same thing. And it's funny how all these people that I've spoken to, the one thing that, all of us consistently do is, deposit 5 cents a day,
Yeah,
like
that's it.
whatever it is. And over time, it compounds and it turns into something. I think
That's right.
people, as you said before, try and, put $5 in, and then all of a sudden they've got nothing left to deposit. And it's like, well,
Yeah, they
you
burn
know,
out.
yeah, yeah. And what do you think holds people back the most? Like, so, when you wrote all of those things out, that can be, very confronting for some
It
almost.
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because it's like, I've done it a few times and it changes like over the years, obviously. And so like quite often than not, like what do you feel holds people back? They'll write it down, but yet nothing then manifests from it.
I think people are scared of who they are in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I really think people are not scared of who they are. I think they're scared that they can't become who they want to be because of who they are.
I
It's
feel
like
like you
that.
just nailed that.
Yeah, their little voice in their head that they doubt with stops them when really that voice is you. So it's like, it's so weird to think about it. But there's a book, there's an audio book, even just a physical book that I listened to once, and it's called The Unearthed Soul. And it's about that little voice in your head that you can't turn off or control. And I remember listening to it and I was like, far out, like, I can't remember much from it, but I remember it changed my perspective as to when I would hear negative thoughts from myself, because it is me, but not me. It's so weird. You should listen to it if you haven't.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop that in the notes too for other people to listen to, because um, you're right. Like, it is, because we are not our mind. We just are us. We
Yeah.
feed that into our mind, like as you just said before, like that voice.
Yeah, it's so strange.
So, like, and it's so funny that you say fear, because I feel like, and a lot of people write it down and go, I can't do that. But I feel the way you've explained that for anybody listening, just to cap on what Zach just said then, is that it is you stopping you. It's nobody else. You are who you think you are, or you think you're
Yeah,
not.
that's right.
Like,
Like the good old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But if that horse goes to the water, it's obviously thirsty, which is
yeah.
you doing what you need to do, not someone telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love analogies, and I feel like a lot of people listening would benefit from that.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess it kind of leads me to, like, why do you think so many people stay where they are, like, even if they're unhappy? Like, I feel like that,
Um,
dealing with, and the positive change that you've created, creating this sort of brand, like, why do you think so many people stay where they are?
I've thought about this because I've actually got family members and stuff who they just won't change.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's been years and years. Like, what's stopping you? And I try to understand, and honestly, I have no idea, because I always wonder it myself. Like, maybe they stay there because they're happy, but how can you be happy and marinating in shit? So it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Unless they're scared to deal with their demons, that they're just sitting with them or letting them win. I've got no idea, but that one stumps me as well. Hey,
Yeah, yeah, because I think about that too. Like, and I feel like when you have come out of it and you're on the other side, like, I guess and I always am a big believer, like, anything will make enough sense with enough information, but it's not your job to find that information.
yeah, that's right.
Um, but yeah, I was like, when I wrote down that question to ask you, I was like, I wonder, with the positive movement that you've had and all of these followings and stuff, whether you might have a more of a clarity on that. But I feel like you kind of really did answer it. I feel like, they're just happy to not face their demons.
Yeah, but that's that. I think that again comes down to a mindset thing, and they're just not sick of their shit.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, I feel like you've nailed it. I feel like we finally actually probably answered that. I think they
Yeah,
just haven't had enough of their shit, because I feel like people think they're at rock bottom, but they're really not. Like,
they're
you can
really
go
not.
further.
Yeah, like a few people. It's like they I think they do think that, but they're living in a house, they're clothed, they've got food, they don't have to pay bills. They're like, it's like you've got it pretty good.
Yep.
So it's like it's pretty cool here. And if they had to deal with their shit, I think that would mean, well, I guess getting sober, paying your own bills, getting an income, and I mean that sounds too hard. So we'll just stay here.
Yep. Yep. I feel like it, like, yeah. And I guess it just a comfort thing too. Like, it's, yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Which I kind of think, like, you've pretty much already answered it, but do you believe that anybody can turn their life around, like, and make something of themselves?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Anybody, like I always say, I was the worst in my family at one point in regards to just being useless and fucking up over and over again, and then substance abuse and all the rest of it. And I'm the last person that you would ever expect to be where I am today. And I still get told it today by people that knew me when I was younger, like, fucking hell, man, can't believe, like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, no, I know what you thought when I was younger. But
Yeah.
like, if they are proud, kudos. If they're not, and it's just a sentence, who cares? It's no skin off my back. But if I can change and get a work ethic and a job and save and all that and raise 3 kids, what I would say, I'm the best dad in my household. And so, I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I was at my wit. I was at my rock bottom. Like, my mum just died. My nan had to move. She kicked me out. I wasn't able to live with her. I was homeless. Then I went and done some crime, ended up in prison, got out with absolutely nothing, nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And I came back from, the pits of hell, basically.
Yeah. And I think,
So,
a lot of people probably needed to hear that on today's episode too, right? Because it's like, what we speak about, everybody speaks about rock bottom. Everyone's rock bottom's different, but I feel like, literally, and, my dad was in and out of jail, and I remember him used to say to me, he's like, jail is one of the easiest places to be.
yeah, it is. You get 3 meals a day,
yep,
you get fed, watered, showered, you get toiletries, soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, like,
yep. And,
it's
you get out to
easy.
the real world, and as you've said before, and I feel like that's really stuck with me, is no one's coming to save you. You get
No.
out with the bag that you went in with, and that is it.
I got out with a Nike shirt, a pair of Nike shoes, and a pair of shorts, and nowhere to go. My mate was doing FIFO, and he goes, "Bro,
Yep,
you can stay in my shed till you sort some shit out." And I was in the shed. I remember thinking, like, I'm just going to go to the train station, assault someone on camera so I can go back to jail, because it was too
yep,
hard.
yep.
And I basically just got a resume together and just started building from there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think a lot of people needed to hear that, because I feel like, everyone, and as I said, everyone's circumstances are different in terms of rock bottom. But I guess, if you were to look at the worst place to be is having nothing, having nobody, and now you've got a house, like beautiful kids, a missus,
Yeah,
traveled the world, like, you don't have to stay stuck. And as you said,
that's it.
literally started with writing a resume, and you did have those demon thoughts. Like, I think
Oh,
that's also,
absolutely.
like, I appreciate you so much for coming onto this podcast, because I think that there's so many notes that I just wrote down that I want to share in
Oh, that's fine.
the podcast notes. Just like, as I said, I think listening, it can inspire so many people. They may not be in a position where they feel like, they might feel like in their eyes they're at rock bottom, but it's like, you said it before, you've got clothes on your back, you got a roof over your head. It's really not that bad. Like, pull your socks up and get on with it.
Yeah, get to work.
Yeah, and like, going back to kind of capping on what you said, to start with one thing, like, it's not, it's crazy. So I
That's
guess,
it.
where do you see Respect the Body going moving forward? Like, you're impacting so many people's lives in such a positive way. Where do you see this going?
There's no real end vision for it, but what I would like to do is start holding more community events where it's not just online, it's more physical, where we can, get the kids involved, maybe parents are at rock bottom with their kids and we can bring them down, get them into some activities, show them that, tell our story like I've just told on here to people in a, more physical sense, so it's just it gets across a bit more, I
Yeah,
guess, on a personal level. And then maybe they will go home, and then who knows what can, it's a ripple effect. Maybe the parents will snap out of it. Maybe the brother or sister that's given the parents a hard time, or maybe the grandkid with the grandparents that the parents aren't around anymore are giving them grief. Like, maybe it can just flick the switch in somebody, and then they can start building their life and future for their own future kids or current kids in their own house and job, and then maybe they can, at the end of the day, I think what the end goal is to break generational trauma.
yeah. I was just about to say, I feel like that's where it starts, right? If you impact, even if we impact 10 people listening to today's episode, that they're going to impact another 10 people, and then 10 people. And then, as you said, it's just a ripple effect. And I think we need
Yeah.
that in this day and age, to be honest. Like, the community is that everybody feels like they want to be somebody and be part of something. So I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like,
right.
that it's massive. So thank you so much again for coming on to today's episode. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap up today's episode?
No, that was my pleasure. It was good to have a chat. It was good to try and get that message across and just, let people know that respect the body is not just a couple of gym junkies with their shirts off, It goes
Yeah.
a lot deeper than that. And, life is what you make it.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you so much again for coming on today's episode. I can't wait to share this with so many people. I feel like, as I said, we can continue that movement and your dream just by sharing this, and people can listen to it on Spotify, YouTube, all of those platforms, and be able to hear the story from, the start, and rather than just seeing what's on social media and stuff, and knowing the, I guess the morals and values and stuff behind respect the body.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for having me on, Ash.
That's okay. Wow, how many things actually resonated in today's episode. So this episode is just a reminder that your past doesn't define you. The version of you that made mistakes, that felt stuck, that didn't show up the way you wanted to, that's not who you have to stay as. And this movement of respecting your body isn't just about training, it's about the standards that you set for your life. And at any point, you can decide to raise them. So again, I just want to thank Zac for coming onto the podcast and sharing his story. It can sometimes be quite confronting sharing the good, bad, and ugly. So just remember, if there's a few takeaways from today's episode, is that no one is coming to save you. And that consistency can be the hardest part, but your vision of who you want to be is a reason that you keep showing up with just one thing each and every day. And something that really stuck with me, and I hope it stuck with you too, is sometimes you got to get really sick of your own shit to actually want to change. So again, I hope this episode helped you and you take something from it. Make sure that you share this episode with someone that might benefit from it, and like and subscribe to Real Talk Fitness with AMPT. And until next time, keep it real.